Thank you. Welcome, Douglas County. My name is Kelly Robinson, and I am chair of the Transportation Committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Today is September 19, 2023. We've got probably a moderate sized agenda here, but we're going to go ahead and get started with this monthly committee meeting. Our first order of business is to establish roll call to ensure we have a quorum. I'll start with myself and go around the room. Please state your name for the record so that it can be codified accordingly. Kelly Robinson, present.
Solomon Rana, present.
Ron Roberts, present.
Heath Cowart, present.
And that is all the committee members we have today, sir.
That's it. So the chair is not here, nor activities towards them, but we have more than enough to be there. Do we have any supporting cast members out there? Is Latanya Amons or David Good out there?
Yes, Commissioner. This is David Good. I'm here.
Very good. Is Latanya Amons present? Well, no, I think she had.
I don't believe
she has a different meeting today. No problem. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I think the first order of business is to adopt. What was that? All right, our first order of business is to adopt the meeting minutes. Director Rana.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As you're aware, we didn't have quorum in the last meeting, so this time around, I make a motion that we approve July 18th and August 15th meeting minutes as presented.
All right, we have a motion. I'll go ahead and make the motion. Motion to approve both minutes. Can we get a second? Got a second from Director Rana?
Second.
All right. Any objections? Let's just go around the room because we have two sets. Again, say your name, whether you agree or disagree, just for the record. Kelly Robinson, yes.
Solomon Rana, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Heath Cowart, yes.
All right. That's 4. That means unanimous based on the voting members that are here. And so both meeting minutes have been adopted accordingly. All right, Director Rana.
All right, next item on the agenda is Connect Douglas updates and updates from the collaborative firm on the ridership data. Director Roberts, over to you.
Director Roberts, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the time today. And we have Danielle Cherry Hoover on to present the ridership information as a brief update.
Danielle Hoover Cherry, are you out there?
Yes, sir, I am. I just needed to not be on mute. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Welcome. You have the floor.
Great. I'm going to share my screen. Do I have capabilities of doing that?
Yes.
Director? Okay.
You should now. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Something's there. Yes.
Yes.
It's up.
Thank you. All right, great. I'm going to go off camera because there's a slight delay and I don't want it to delay any longer. All right, so what we're going to do is just give a brief update on the last time we were here. So first, we're going to start with the ridership summary. One positive thing I want to note is from January through August. And again, this is 2022 versus 2023. So within trends, we want to comp over the previous year. Connect Douglas Fix bus route ridership is up 1,666 additional riders from January through August this time. And you see the total numbers below for 2022 from January through August was 16,229 riders. And January to date, or January through the end of August, 17,895 riders on the 4 fixed bus routes. So that's the route 10, 20, 30, and 40. And what you see here is the trend I just mentioned from January through August, comped year over year, or excuse me, 22 versus 23 to be exact. Another key performance indicators we've been looking at since March are call logs. So the numbers, and just for background and reference sake, began in March. That's when the third-party bus operating system, Transitions Commute Solutions, was able to start logging the requested information. So from March through August is what you see are listed. And that is when anyone calls into the Connect Douglas transit line, that's 770-949-7665. Option 1 is for the Flex or ADA. Option 2 is Transitions Commute Solutions. That's what goes out externally. Option 3 is the Mobility Coordinator. They're at the Multimodal Transportation Center at Douglas, 8800 Doris. And then option 4 is the customer service line. So the options 2, 3, and 4, we are able to capture with the help of Transitions for option 2, and option 3 are for our internal lines with the help of Douglas County Information Systems forwarding that monthly. So I appreciate everyone who has been in rhythm and sending that information over each month.
Madam Danielle?
Yes, sir.
Can you, again, quantify those numbers? Some people are not actually looking at the actual, they're listening, but they don't see your graphic. So you can quantify the numbers just so we, equality in information dissemination. Everybody doesn't see it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So for option 2, when someone dials into the customer service line at 770-949-7665, option 2 goes to Transitions, and that's for fixed bus route information, questions on transit. From March, 115 calls received, and the numbers that are proceeding are for the calls received. April, 257, May, 269, June, 347, July, 295, August, 269. The numbers preceding for option 3, which goes to the Mobility Coordinator for the Connect Douglas. March, 204, April, 140, May, 147, June, 129, July, 212, August, 192. The calls received proceeding for option 4, and that's directly to the customer service line at the Multimodal Transportation Center on Doris. March, 158, April, 104, May, 139, June, 141, July, 228, and August, 190.
Is there a summary of those numbers?
Yes, sir, we can get you a summary of these numbers to date.
Yeah, can you, we'll have to do it right now. Going forward, can you just have a summary of it? I'm trying to draw a comparison to number of riders year to date in comparison to number of calls year to date and how it plays out. So just make a side note, please.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And thank you for following on our end. We do like to have those comparisons as well of what also compared to what we're doing in the marketplace to see those trends. So you're spot on, and we'll get that information over to you. So ongoing support, and this will be provided, and then on the summary to you, Commissioner Robinson. January through July, there are various digital platforms that Connect Douglas uses, not only social media, but one in particular that has an opportunity for growth as Connect Douglas services grow is the Google business page. And that has been implemented, it's about 2 years now. So for January through July, that's what you see. So if someone has a search bar, such as Google or Bing or Yahoo, they just type in Connect Douglas, and what you see is what the Google business page is. So when someone goes onto this page, you can leave a review, of course, get directions, and that is captured. So for January through July of 2023, the numbers, these are the total numbers that I'm giving out. So the total views is the number of times someone has seen the listing on the page, and that total number is 9,305. The total number of searches, and that's exactly what it sounds like. When someone goes into the search bar on their mobile device or desktop, and that number is 3,182. What I can tell you as a side note, the majority of what people are searching for are Douglas County Transit and Douglas County Bus. Those are the highest or top two searches for the month of August. The website visit is exactly what you see there when someone just clicks on the website link. And that goes directly to connectdouglas.com. So that number from January through July of 2023, that number total is 1,412. And the number below that is directions. So when someone clicks on the directions button just to navigate or how to get to Connect Douglas, and that's usually what the default is Google Maps. And that number total is 625. So as an aside, for the number of total views, the majority of people are still looking up Connect Douglas or utilizing the business page from their mobile device. So people are out and about and are mobile. So 70% of users use their mobile device and 21% are desktop. So on engagement and activities, so events, since the last time we met, there was the Mosaic Multicultural Fest. So Connect Douglas had a presence there. And that was Saturday, September 9th at the Cultural Arts Council grounds. And I believe it's the same year of the Multicultural Fest. So there's just some photos that you see. And once we get the number of shuttle.
Is somebody speaking? Can you mute your phone, please? Go ahead, Daniel.
Thank you. So once, just to repeat, once we get those ridership numbers from those who had taken the free shuttle bus to the event, so that was provided. You can park at the Multimodal Transportation Center at 8800 Doris and shuttle there, shuttle back to help lessen traffic and parking issues. So the second year in a row doing that as well. And then a look ahead. So in the fall, usually quarter 3 and quarter 4, we ramp up activity and efforts with not only our senior population, as well as our students. We found great success in that because summer, is done and people are going back from summer vacations and travel, and we have great success in ramping up. So there's several events and activities that you see here. The Health and Wellness Fair upcoming Friday, September 22nd, put on by the Douglas County Senior Services, and they do an excellent job. I thoroughly enjoyed personally attending that one. So that is definitely geared towards seniors, but it's information across the board. And of course, Douglas will be there with mobility and senior focused services directly, but all service information. And there will be a bus on site for not only as a cooling station, but for tours and view at all of these events that you see on your page. September Saturdays, the 23rd and 30th, right there at the courthouse off of Hospital Drive. The Career on Wheels is a very cute day with Chapel Hill Elementary students, and last year was about 750 students. So the whole school gets an opportunity to quote unquote touch a truck. So that is a fun day. And then October 7th is the Fall Festival, and that's in partnership with the Douglas County Police Department. And we've done that for the past 3 years. So with that, I say thank you and pause for any questions.
Thank you thank you very much. Well, again, well done, very succinct and concise. A couple quick questions before I open up to the full committee. And Director Roberts, I want you also to hear what I'm sharing. So, Danielle, you said something about a global page and businesses are searching. Is there room on the table? Is there something on the table today to talk about advertisements? Or Ron, Director Roberts, in our future transit plan that deals with advertising either on the buses for small businesses or for any business, or on our benches and that are to be coming, bus stop benches, etc. Can y'all talk? Can either one of y'all feel where we are and what you've seen, and is it an opportunity for that?
I can share something on that, Commissioner. I know that there are transit agencies that do advertisements on their buses and things like that. There are pros and cons. It's not really right now. I don't think it's a part of the TMP, the Transit Master Plan, to look at that. But I know that with some of those entities, it becomes a content issue. Kind of like what I went through with the neighborhood sign plaza, the signage across the county a few years ago. If you recall, we had the opportunity to increase and bring in some revenue to the county, but you cannot control the content of what they're advertising. So that's something we would need to look at a little bit more. Obviously, they did it, and I know CobbLink did it when I was there years and years ago. And I think McDonald's wrapped several of the buses and things like that, but it's just not something that I've delved into or had the bandwidth to look at. But I do know that some of the signage that I see at bus stop locations, like specifically bus stop locations throughout Cobb, the cities themselves try to avoid having advertisements and things because they want a city seal or some other type of representation at the bus stop locations if there is a shelter located there. So it's a good question, and it's something we would have to look at more to come back with a deeper answer to that.
No, thank you for that. Again, as we go to the next evolution of transit, if you think about, there's online and there's offline, and I mean, Facebook doesn't exist without advertisements. They finally figured out how to do that. Now I get how that viralness and what that means, but is there a path for a municipality to take advantage of that? Whether I'm in an airport, and we've got Douglas County up there, and the international, and in whatever case, talking about tourism. It's one of those where I get bandwidth, but I'd like to make sure we put, because I brought this up before to our consultants, that at least there should be some type of footnote or bullet point in our transit master plan that there's an opportunity. Not because we don't have capacity. It's just that something that if we do get capacity in the future, I want to be part of the plan. So I'm not advocating for it to be done now, but if there's something there to help offset, and it can be controlled, to your point, I understand First Amendment, but there are rules in what we choose and what is our policy about what type of vendors we do choose to engage to allow them to put on there. So I don't want that to go on deaf ears. I'm not asking for it to be advanced, but I do want it in the record that I want at least make sure that Ron, take it back to transit and ask them, our guys, and ask them, are they addressing this to some of you? Even if they say you have to do a little bit more study, we didn't really take a look at that. I don't want that to fall on deaf ears, because it's something we had talked about early on regarding advertisement or some type of communication vehicle. And again, it's viewership. It has value. Somebody would love to see 17,000 people. You got them captive for an hour, right? That's value. And it may be busy work perhaps for staff. Again, I'm not trying to get y'all in the advertisement business, but there are third parties out there that could probably handle this on someone's behalf. But duly noted, it's for the record. Thank you for that response, but keep moving.
Commissioner Robinson, if you don't mind.
Please, yes.
So I just wanted to give a background point and to give an example of what Director Roberts had mentioned. So previously, under the current Connect Douglas. I wanted just ongoing support. So I just want to take a step aside from what's upcoming for the Transit Master Plan. There has been advertisements on behalf of Connect Douglas events and initiatives and outreach from the, for example, during at the launch, and also another example is during the free rides in 2019. So during December, the quote unquote season of giving, there was a donation drive, free rides to offset some of the transportation issues around the corridor of Arbor Place Mall. So there were free rides through the month of December in 2019 that was wildly successful on social media, and then table tents and advertising within the mall on the digital signage. So that was themed for Connect Douglas. So there wasn't outside or public or a small business information. To Director Roberts' point, it was solely Connect Douglas outreach and initiatives. And I bring up the free rides for December. It was because it was successful in piggybacking and jumpstarting 2020 from a new trans, and then that actually catapulted that sustained growth pre-COVID. And some of the advertisements and social media helped with outreach post-COVID. So they were only Connect Douglas themed, just to reiterate.
No, and I appreciate that, and thank you for clarity for the record. More like an internet versus an internet, that it was self-contained. It's to Director Roberts' point, Douglas Central. Got it.
Yes.
My point is that they can coexist, and there's space. Doesn't have to be equal, but it's more a policy position. It's not could we do it, but should we do it? But there may be an opportunity. I'm not saying that we don't, but I don't want us to close our eyes for it just for no different than us advertising in an airport. Like, okay, well, the airport could just be focused on what it wants to focus on, but we're trying to get attention, and so there's an exchange. No different than an amphitheater. You got the Greystone that drops a few G's to own that theater and sponsorships. And just like with our parks, we're trying to go to another level. That okay, guys, we got to get outside of Douglas. You get more people by having other stakeholders. It's 1 degree separated on top of what we already got. So it's trying to extend views, and so they bring their team to the table. They're advertising their business and vice versa. And so, Julie noted, thank you, but I still want that recognized. So thank you for the input, Danielle. But I wanted to make sure that we also look at that in addition to sort of this internal. So thank you. I'm going to keep moving. So my second point is, Danielle, you mentioned something about schools, and Director Roberts, I know Superintendent Trent North contacted us and trying to leverage our bus system for teachers. In certain communities, they got to be on time, and look, if everybody's trying to go to schools, 33 schools all at the same time in Douglas County, ain't that many Uber drivers all leaving at the same time. Trust me, I know this. So that being said, he asked for some type of direct support. Ron, where do we stand with that? Did we ever engage them at all? Was there a solution for them that's dedicated for that?
I have not heard anything back from Superintendent North in regards to this is actually the first I've heard of assisting with the teachers. Glad to engage him in that endeavor. I know we've done outreach to the youth during the TMP process. In fact, we had a half-day event that Commissioner Dobbs sent several of his students to participate with our master plan at our facilities. So I would have to reach out to him again and see what it is that his needs are, and try to incorporate that into what we're looking at for the transit master plan. I definitely think that's an opportunity for ridership, but I have not spoken with him.
Yeah, no problem. I engaged probably about a month ago regarding this topic, and I did acknowledge to him because he contacted me regarding this, and I said, okay, to your point, that's something in the master plan for extended services in the future. But I know your phone call today has to do with your teachers today. They said absolutely, and I get both worlds. So it's one of those. Can we'll take it offline? Can you I'll give you his number. Can you call him directly? And again, it's about partnership. And if you can't do anything, that's great. I just want to make sure we acknowledge him and respond accordingly. Which is a segue into I know you're at the schools. They get to come. See again, the touch a truck. They get to come to us. Have we reached out to the PTAs in the schools directly regarding this at all, as far as partnership, Danielle, for communication?
Oh, yes, sir. We're in partnership with the Douglas County School System, in particular the CTAE program, so the Careers Technology programs. These are the students who may not be going directly to a traditional higher education, such as a college, who may be going to a trade school or going directly into the workforce post-graduation. So we've been working with them directly, and those are the groups of students who we talk to specifically, as well as the populace at large for each school. So we've touched just about every single school in Douglas County. And then the ancillary is we just started doing Chapel Hill Elementary over the past, this is our second year touching them, but for the past 3 years, we've ramped up in our work with the Douglas County School District. The other part of not only partnering with the CTAE, because they have counselors at each school, so we have a contact and we are in contact with each of those school partners, as well as at large, including their advisory committee. But with the students with disabilities or who have mental challenges, they have a fair each year that we participate with, so we can answer questions and focus on not only the students' needs, but more importantly, answer the questions from student parents, guardians, or caregivers. So those two programs in particular are specific outreach, and those usually happen in Q3, Q4.
Gotcha.
Or the schools in particular throughout, but they ramp up in Q3. But with the students with mobility challenges or learning challenges are Q3, Q4.
Right. So I've got special needs segment. I get to sort of the collegiate, post high school, continuing learning segment. Do you focus on high schools and middle schools, or all schools? Just curious.
All schools. So last year we focused primarily on the high schools. We ramped up that process, but all schools. So it started off with high schools in particular, and then that's how we partnered with the Douglas County School System, and then got directed to the CTAE program because that drove the most impact directly, because these are students who needed to get, you got an after school job, or you need to get home from practice, and maybe a single parent home or one car home, and you just can't get to and from. So we partnered with them directly, signed up a lot of students with a reduced fare, so they only ride for $1, and then went to middle and elementary.
Gotcha. Either one of y'all can answer. How do I have to be to get on the bus by myself? How do I have to be? Or is there an age rule?
Yes, we are in the process of updating all the processes, and right now it's set at 13.
Okay. Got it. So what's that, high school? What's 13, guys? I forgot. It's been a while.
It could be 8th grade, 9th grade, 8th grade.
Yeah, got it. All right, got it. Okay. No, good enough. All right, so I'm going to pause those for my 3 questions and comments. Anybody else, any other committee member want to weigh in on this one for Danielle? If no, Madam Danielle, thank you so much again. We'll see you next month.
Thank you for your time.
Director Roberts?
We don't have any more updates from, we know that RSNH is bringing back a robust report for October, and we'll be on that agenda.
Yep.
So
that's for the full board, though, right?
No, sir. We would like to present it here first.
Okay.
In this forum.
Yep. Okay. That'll be fine. But eventually you gotta get to the full board. When do you plan to present it to the full board?
I think that the milestones for that are in December.
In December. Okay. In December, all right. So I think our last meeting is in, again, make sure you line up our calendar. We made that comment maybe a meeting or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they can get it, they gotta line up with the board's last meeting, which I think is the first meeting of December. The goal is to be done by the end of November so that staff can have the whole December. Pay attention to what Dr. Corbin and them are doing with regard to the calendar. It may not be a December meeting for us.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, we absolutely can. I got an email from Rachel today. I was looking forward to her being on here, but she got COVID. The Georgia Planning Association conference is this week. I was going to be in Savannah. I can call and talk to her about it. Obviously, she lives in Savannah, so I'll be reaching out and we'll have some discussions about moving some timelines around.
Yeah, no problem. Just be mindful. There's something that we're formally supposed to adopt regarding to the FTA. Recognize our own local. There's nobody going to be here to do it. So, and I doubt they'll call a special call to do this. So just line it up. You're good. You got this. I'm sure they can accelerate accordingly. All right. So if there's nothing else on that, thank you, Director Roberts. Director Rana, who's up next?
Next with us, we have Director Heath Colbert from Public Works to provide general updates.
Director Cowher, come on down.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Pretty good.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I've got just a few quick updates from DOT Maintenance and Construction. We've got the internal crew started on Stonehaven yesterday. You recall they were waiting to try and get it built out to a certain level to try to mitigate the damage to the roads, to the top course, and this is the answer to the equation. Everybody has started today. Then we've got our pothole count is up to 2,180 total.
Total outstanding potholes or the number you've completed?
Completed, sir. Yes,
Thank you for clarifying that.
yes, sir. I wouldn't brag about the other way.
At least you've been honest and transparent, but no, glad you clarified.
Yes, sir. The litter pickup is a total of 101 miles. Is how much we have walked and picked up trash this year. Bartow paving is 100% done and off out of the county. So they've been just doing punch list stuff for a while, finishing up. They are out. We ordered a new lift for fleet due to one breaking, and it'll be here in about 80 days, but that'll affect everybody that comes in and out as far as vehicle maintenance. So just went ahead and tack that on here as well. And then we've got
real quick before you leave that, just for the record, we never really talked about this. I know we'd assume. Just for the record, what is fleet? Where is that building? What does it do? Just for the record, like what are y'all process in that building?
Okay, it's Public Works building. It is the fleet is right behind the tax office off of Doris Avenue, and we have all the technicians. We handle all the preventative maintenance and scheduled maintenance. Anything you can do to the vehicles, to the fleet, is done here through the technicians, minus heavy equipment, which would be done at the landfill at field services. Fire trucks, police cars, new vehicles come in and they get stenciled, their bumper stickers put on and issued out to the department who has them coming to them. We also have the fuel here. So does that answer your questions?
Yes, so the deputy cars, the ambulances, we do all that in-house at, in this facility, is what I'm hearing.
We do, yes, sir, as much as possible. As any shop, we'll have to sub out some things. It just depends on the nature and how busy and, what exactly needs work. If it's first responders, they get, obviously we're on top of that, and a couple of those break at the same time. We don't wait on it, so we may have to sub some things out, but for the most part, everything's done right here. And, we send our technicians to be certified, specialty certified on the heavy side for fire trucks and ambulances, and then the other vehicles as well. So it's a one-stop shop.
No, I got it. Thank you for sharing that. Now you can include the big giant fire trucks as well?
Yes, sir.
Long ones? We got that type of capacity for real?
We do, sir.
Okay. Do we know that was just for record? I didn't know we went. I knew most of the things, but something like that, I didn't know if it was special. You had to send out, but if you got it, you got it. Thank
Sir.
you. Keep it going.
Okay. So, and the last thing I have for you is, so we ordered the compactors for for the landfill that we were able to get in on a grant or two, the ARPA funds. So they won't be here until, I believe we're about a year out right now. We got them, that's great, and we're doing our procedures in according, and Jill Hobson is helping us and keeping us squared away, making sure everything is done properly. But it's going to be a little bit of a wait time on it, but that'll, it's free. It's a great deal for the county and for the landfill. So it's just these are compactors, balers of metal, paper, glass, and aluminum, I believe. So it just takes it on. We're able to bring in more products. It's more efficient, and we get more money out of it, hopefully, as the market picks up. Putting your questions, sir, that's all I have today.
Excellent job. And so, again, you're maintaining. Unsung hero, thank you. Citizens do appreciate the potholes, your commitment to that and where we can. Obviously researching where you can. So I know it's continuous. It never stops. But again, you knock down one pothole and two open up somewhere else. And so I do appreciate the maintenance and your commitment to helping offset our bigger capital commitment regarding SPLOST. So thank you. All right. Director Ron, let's keep going.
Yes, sir. Next up is Department of Transportation updates. We went through two projects last time. Can everybody see my screen? Or is it not up? I have the agenda up, but it should be up now if it wasn't before. So in our last meeting, we went through two projects, State Route 92 at Lake Monroe and State Route 5 at Berea Road. We had consultants present in the last meeting that walked us through their in-depth technical analysis and where we stand. But we lacked quorum, so we could not make an official recommendation out of this committee. And so that's what I wanted to repeat. I won't go into the details, but I'll cover some highlights just so that the committee is aware on where we stand on these projects. And I believe it was the same group of people that we have here today in the last meeting. But if at any point, if you all have any questions, feel free to stop me. The first item I have is State Route 92 at Lake Monroe, signal warrant analysis. We retained Pond & Company services to help evaluate a traffic signal need for this intersection. We were very hopeful. In fact, that was our preferred alternative if approved. But running the analysis the GDOT way, it concluded that the traffic volumes are just not enough to warrant a traffic signal. And that being said, there was a congestion and a safety issue that we were trying to solve, and the conclusion says that traffic signal is not a possible solution at this point. So what the consultant recommended was a RCUT, which is a limited access intersection that mandates the minor road, in this case that would be Lake Monroe Road, to take a right turn on Highway 92 and then eventually go for a U-turn at that joining intersection. That being said, it was my recommendation to adopt that solution because technically speaking, that addresses the two major concerns. One is safety, second is congestion. But I also wanted to acknowledge the social impact that it's going to have because the daily commuters now have that additional 2,000 feet of roadway or U-turn inconvenience added to their commute. So I just wanted to mention that, but of course, whatever the will of this committee would be, that's how we'll proceed.
All right, so to that point, again, we got the recommendation. I do recall that, so we'll take action here in a minute. My question is, how will we communicate that solution? I'm assuming this committee passes on, adopts the recommendation, send it to the full board. How will we communicate this? To your point, that 2,000 extra feet, and again, I get it, it's change management. Anytime you have to do something different, but how will we affect that change?
Sir, basically, once this committee recommends this, we'll ask for board's approval on this matter because that would be an intersection change, and that would be an informal public notice because that is a public meeting when we head to the Board of Commissioners. After that, we request GDOT to allow us to make such changes. In fact, GDOT has wanted to implement this specific change for a long time, and that is basically it. So from this point onwards, next step is BOC and then GDOT, and after that, we just have the island constructed on the intersection.
All right, well, let's keep this agenda going. Let's go ahead and make a motion. We can discuss it further if necessary, see what the will of this committee is, and then we'll send it to the full board.
All right, I'll make a motion that we propose adding right in, right out intersection method at Lake Monroe at State Route 92 for full board approval.
I think you heard it. I'll go ahead. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second. All right, any further discussion? And that second was by who? Director Cower?
Phil Miller.
Ah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Did not know you were here. Duly noted that we have our chairs now in committee. Sorry, Mr. Chair. Duly noted.
All right.
All right, guys, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. I'll go ahead and call the question again. We have to say our name for the record and our position, yes or no. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Keith Cowart votes yes.
Solomon Rana, yes.
Ron
Phil
Roberts,
Miller,
yes.
I heard Phil Miller, yes. Ron, your position, sir?
Yes.
All right. We've got a 5-0 unanimous vote of the Transportation Committee to send this to the full Board of Commissioners for approval. All right. Director Rana?
Thank you, sir. Next is a very similar item. This is another intersection project that was undertaken earlier this year. This project is on Highway 5 and Berea Road intersection. This also reached a similar conclusion where we did not have enough traffic volume to warrant $1 million investment, basically. We had only 4 cars in peak hour turning right on Berea Road onto Highway 5. And that being an existing 2-lane road, the biggest concern on this intersection was safety related or side distance related turning movement. So as a car approaches this intersection from Berea onto Highway 5, there's not enough side distance to make a safe left turn movement. And then of course in rush hour, that slows down traffic, creates congestion, and creates an unsafe backlog or gridlock at this intersection. Upon studying the intersection, it was concluded that there's very little traffic volumes on this intersection, and spending $1 million worth of roadway improvements was just not justifying the cost to benefit ratio. While consultants, we are their customer. If we ask them to realign the road and widen it, they would definitely do it. But our recommendation was to stop this project where we are and reallocate funding towards a more meaningful project that can bring a bigger impact to District 4 and the county as a whole. And that is the discussion we had in our last meeting. And just so I could point out an alternative is, so as I mentioned, left turn is the problem at this intersection. Our recommendation would be to limit this intersection to only right in and right out, as we discussed before, or at very minimum, limit the left turn movement from Berea Road to Highway 5. So that takes away that unsafe movement. And then we divert traffic on Jade Street, which is an adjoining road. Both are classified as local roads. And that provides enough side distances for both movements, right turn and left turn. And basically just have people continue their daily routine as they do with a very minor offset from Berea Road to Jade Street. And that would be our recommendation today, but I'll pause here for any questions. And I do want to recognize District 4 Commissioner Mark Elcres with us here today. So this is in his district, and I'll just open it up for any questions.
Thank you for that, Director Ron, and welcome, Commissioner Alcaraz. I'm going to get to you in one moment here, and I'd love to hear from you directly, so I don't have to read your email. All right, so to that point, to the committee, rarely does it happen, but every now and then it does happen where we go down the path of a particular solution, especially in transportation, and it may not be warranted. Right, we took the time, and sometimes we have to make a pivot. And so in this particular case, what I'm hearing is that the Board of Commissioners did allocate $1 million for this project, a line item. What I'm hearing is now that the consultants, everybody got in there, it only requires this. So my first question is, I hear we've got to do something around operational safety. You can't abandon it because it was on the list to begin with for some reason. But the full solution that we thought we were going to do is not warranted. So based on what you're saying, Director Rana, left in, left, right out, left only in, what you just said, how much does that cost? Like, what is the offset? What is the net difference then? And then that gets into the reallocation conversation, secondly. So what would it take, in your estimation, plus or minus 25%, to still solve the operational, solve the distance issue here in this area? What would be that price tag?
Yes, sir. Price would be very minimal. And if I could take one step back to clarify the funding mechanism on this project, under SPLOST 2016, we allocated $298,000 for design of this intersection. Yeah. And our continuity plan was to fund the construction worth $1 million from 2022 SPLOST, which hasn't been approved by the board as of yet. So if we were to adjust the funding, and I'll get to that question second, we'll basically reallocate the $298,000 that has already been allocated. So that would be the only funding in question as of right now. And then if that adjustment is made it in time, let's say today, we'll just dive right on to 22 SPLOST, and before it hits the board, we'll make that correction. And that is the plan. And then the partial improvement that I talked about, that is pouring an island and just prohibiting left turn out of Berea Road. I would say that would cost anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 with some 10 or plus minus 10, 15%, just to pour that concrete and have it signed and striped properly.
That's something that we can handle on our own, or we need approval to do that?
Sir, we'll work with Public Works and see if that's something we can do in-house and minimize cost on it. And if it works out, we'll be able to handle that through either our internal budget, or we'll have GDOT supply the material, because this is a state route.
Okay. All right, let's pause on that for just a second. Commissioner Alcaraz, I'll get to the alternative. What do you think about the solution that just was proffered by Director Rana?
I like that solution. As he stated from the study, there's just not enough traffic there to justify that cost. So, yeah, I agree with Director Rana.
Okay. Chairman Miller, I'm not sure how much you heard about that. Any thoughts about that?
Well, I travel that road a lot, and it is dangerous, very dangerous, trying to get out onto Highway 5 from Berea Road. That's probably the most reasonable solution. However, these people that have lived on that road for a long, long time, I don't expect them to be extremely happy about it.
Yeah, understood. And as I always say, for every yes, somebody wants a no. For every no, somebody wants a yes. But it comes back to, okay, is it the best use of tax?
There you go.
And so I get it. And Commissioner Alcaraz, again, we go through that all the time where you try to find offsetting solutions. Like street lights. No, I can't put a street light in Lake Monroe. I have no problem delivering that message. That's not the best use of taxpayer dollars. And I know what their convenience is, what they would like, but is it in the best interest of the whole? So duly noted. But all right, so to that point, any other committee member want to weigh in on just this topic? Because after that, Director Ron, I would like for you to, do you want to go ahead and just deal with this for reallocation over, or wait till we talk about the other topic and do them collectively together? As far as reallocation.
So we can, because this would be the last funding related topic, we can talk about, we can make that motion right now if you would like to.
Let's make it clean. Let's deal with
Yes,
this
sir.
first, and then we'll pivot to the second one. And Commissioner Hopkins will come to you in one moment. All right, go ahead, Director Ron.
All right, I make a motion that we accept the recommendations for Bria Road and Highway 5 intersection as presented, and present for full board approval, and also or also consider reallocation of the funds to a different project.
Second. Heath Cowart, second.
All right, we got a motion from Director Rana. You've got a second from Keith Cowart. Any further discussion? With that sounds, I'll go ahead and please, voting members, please again state your name and your position on adoption of this matter. Kelly Robinson, yes.
Solomon
Miller.
Rana, yes. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Right. No, sir. No, sir. Phil Miller, yes.
Solomon Rana, yes.
Heath Cowart, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
All right, we got a unanimous vote of 5-0 to go ahead and adopt this change and acknowledge this short solution. All right, so Director Ron, to tee this up, and I'm going to invite my commissioner, my fellow Commissioner Alcaraz, to sort of give his perspective. And can you guide us through an alternative?
Yes, sir. And I'll, Commissioner Alcaraz, please feel free to jump in as you deem appropriate. But one thing I want to add for context is Highway 5 is getting a lot of attention, not just from the county, but also from GDOT. Volumes are growing incrementally over time. And, GDOT has been looking at intersection improvements and highway corridor widening throughout this road anyway. So one thing I would like to mention is Mason Creek is Mason Creek at Highway 5 is an intersection roughly, I would say, close to a mile away from this subject intersection. That intersection has high levels of traffic volumes. It's currently a signalized intersection, but does not have turn lanes, and congestion levels, of course, from the complaints we've received, say that congestion levels are high. As of right now, we don't have any technical analysis done, so we can't specifically mention the levels of service, but we do see that as a potential alternative project in lieu of Bria Road.
Okay. All right, so to that point, I just want to make a note. David Good, you're on here. Make sure you're taking notes about we're touching SPLOST 2016, and make sure our list, you and Director Ron, sync up our list accordingly. To that point, they had $200,000 that's going to get reallocated, plus this $1 million. And it just for background for my peers is that like we have a formal list that was adopted by committee and the full board, so it's pretty much locked. And anything that, and whenever we change something that's been officially on the list, we have to do it in committee to undo it and pass it on accordingly and codify it. So before we get into this, Director Ron, Commissioner Alcaraz, take the floor and before the committee and tell us what's on your heart. And knowing that home rule, in other words, when you have allocation in your district, you have to keep it in your district. So speak to the committee on what you'd like to have done.
I've had quite a few constituents come to me since taking office about this intersection of Mason Creek and Highway 5, and also Highway 5 and Alexander Parkway. It seems, well, my sons went to school and I did take them to Alexander in the morning, but we've also now, in years past, we built also an elementary school down there right before you go to the entrance of Alexander High School. It's Bill Arp Elementary. School traffic in the mornings gets very congested if you're coming southbound on Mason Creek at Highway 5 at that light. A lot of cars want to turn left to go to Alexander Parkway, and they have to wait for the traffic coming the opposite direction to stop so that they can make that left. A lot of cars want to turn right to go south on Highway 5. So, that light can change with possibly at times only a car or two getting through that light in the mornings, and school traffic backs up tremendously down that road. It's been brought to my attention, what about a turning lane at Mason Creek, both north and southbound, to where cars can turn right if they wish to go on south on Highway 5, or if you're going northbound on Mason Creek, you can make a right to go northbound on Highway 5 coming into the city of Douglasville without having to wait for that car in front of you to make or get through that left-hand turn if they choose to go left and the other traffic's trying to go straight or trying to make a right-hand turn. So to add 2 right-hand turn lanes to that section, I think will be a tremendous help in regards to congestion, not only in the mornings, but also the afternoons. But it's also been brought to my attention just right up the road at Mason Creek I spoke with the sheriff's office, there's been quite a few accidents. They're going to pull me a report there, but these children are going to school, or these teenagers, and they're coming southbound on Highway 5 to make a left-hand turn into Alexander Parkway to go to school. There is no turning lane. So if they're wishing to turn and all that traffic's going northbound on Highway 5, that traffic gets stuck waiting for that individual to turn. And of course, a lot of times, I guess some get rushed in judgment to try to free up traffic, and they try to turn, and there's been accidents there. So here, listening from my constituents, they've came to me and asked me to look at those 2 intersections, if we could possibly make a left-hand turn lane on Highway 5 going southbound into Alexander Parkway, and also make 2 right-hand turns at Mason Creek and Highway 5 to eliminate a lot of that backup traffic.
Okay. All right. So to that point, and Director Rollins, so 2 things. What we just decided, the prior question was to move to that $266. What was it? How much?
It was $298, but about $30,000 to $40,000 of that is already spent in the design process. So whatever the remainder of that would be, we'll do a stop work order and recalculate that amount after today's recommendation.
Thank you very much. So 298 minus 40 for easy math is what, 258?
250.
For the 250, that's fine. For the conversation. So you got $250,000 for out of the 2016 SPOS that will be for design. Is that sufficient for what we just heard? And then,
sir.
Yeah.
I do believe there's going to be a small overage because Highway 5 at Berea was just 1 intersection. Now we're almost looking at 2 intersections. I think there's going to be slight overages, but like I said, we're in very early stages. I would like to go back and chat with our consultants, kind of get some initial cost estimates and see where that lands us. I think that's a fair amount to get started, definitely, and make good progress. But I do believe that at some point we're going to need a little more, but then again in the 300s range to design both intersections. And then again, tying that back into 22 SPLOST, when we go to construction, $1 million may be able to fund the Mason Creek intersection by itself, but the second turn lane that we're discussing at Alexander Parkway, that might need additional funds. And then again, this would be clarified once we get into concept and design of these projects.
All right, so to that point, can you explain again, I've got some new peers, the on-demand consultants, and would you engage them on this, like Pond, to give us what we call that plus or minus assessment on what this is? Would you engage them for this?
Yes, sir. And just for everybody on this call, since this is on a state route, and regardless of it being a state route or not, GDOT, our state, has basically set up best practices or a plan development process for us to follow. And that guides you through the whole concept process and then the design process. And the biggest piece of that is going through a tool which is called ICE. It's Intersection Control Evaluation method. Basically looks into traffic volumes, crashes, cost to benefit ratios, and whole different factors, and recommends the best intersection of given the statistics and the data that you feed into it. So when we hire these consultants, they'll look at all those factors, they'll look at our preferences, and they'll provide an independent conclusion that then we'll take to GDOT. If they accept, we'll get the permit and proceed with the activities as proposed. If they require some changes or don't agree with our analysis, that's something we'll work out with them and come to a conclusion and come back to you guys for approval.
Is this something that you need administrative concurrence at this moment to move to the consultants, or is this something that has to go to the board commissioners?
Yes, sir, it would. And I was going to answer the second part of your question. So in order to do that process, we require certified consultants, and we've got a list of on-call consultants that we keep every year. as we speak currently, we're evaluating the next round of consultants, and we plan to have that list completed by next month. And then we'll be picking a consultant from them. Quite frankly, since RSNH is the consultant on our main project and they helped identify this cost saving or a better value project, I would discuss with Latanya on how we can, not penalize them for providing us with the right input, and if we can retain them, or if we have to get competitive quotes from all the on-call consultants again, we'll do however procurement recommends, but that would be our game plan going forward. And then once we have a consultant, we'll come back to the committee and then the board.
Right, so we'll hold off no action then at this moment. Set expectations for Commissioner Alcaraz that I know we looked at one intersection, now we're pivoting, we're resetting, and nothing gets bound in this committee without a formal action, but help understand if we talk about a year, 2 years, assuming that it rises or it's on the priority list of the new SPLOST, what's the time frame?
So roughly speaking, would be looking at least 2 to 3 years on this one. And that would be my guess at this stage, but as this progresses, we'll do our best to shrink those schedules as possible.
All right. So, and to that point, let me just one more time. So now we're almost finished with the 2016 SPLOST. We're just burning down that little tail of it. We're starting a new SPLOST, and I know Transportation Committee adopted this list for 2022 in January, which I think you distributed. But let's make sure that all the committee members get it again. Director Rahman,
yes, sir,
as well as the chair, or Commissioner Alcaraz, so they can see it. All my board of commissioners, including the committee, put it that way. Everybody gets to see that list. But can you explain what was on that list by way of buckets? What was the percentage that we got out of the SPLOST, the dollar amount, and the buckets?
Yes, sir. High level speaking, we got 27.8% allocated towards transportation. In simpler terms, out of $100 million, we get $27.8 million. The four big categories that this committee under Commissioner Robinson and the Mr. Chairman's guidance decided to focus on was, number one was resurfacing. That gets 35% of the $27.8 million, which is 35% allocation just for resurfacing every year for the next 6 years. So that roughly gives you $1.5 million for each year of resurfacing. The second bucket was relatively smaller, locally funded projects. That includes intersection improvement, the Highway 5 Berea project that we talked about, that was part of this. So relatively smaller, but purely locally funded projects. The third ticket item was the mega infrastructure project that we are conducting with support from ARC, Federal Highway, and GDOT. That includes Chapel Hill Interchange improvement, Lee Road Phase 1 widening, which is from US 78 to I-20. And then the fourth item was economic development, where we set aside roughly $2 million.
And that pretty much matches the 2016 allocation, maybe percentage-wise.
Yes, so percentages for each allocation were kept the same.
Right, so we tried to be consistent. Again, we, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Alcaraz, again, in 2016, we had a totally different allocation. 51% was roughly in transportation. But this round, based on public input, they said that public safety was the number one priority based on our strategic plan. So you saw a lot of the spots. You had both the sheriff and the fire and everybody else got the largest share this time around. And then transportation was second, as opposed to being first like last time. So there was a shift based on public input, which the board had no problem with, but just so that it's smaller. The board chose not to put a T-SPLOST on top of a SPLOST last year. It just was not the political will to do both at the same time, though. In my opinion, I think it could have went, but again, you have to follow the will of the board, but you can't do both. You can only do so much. And so, so with that being said, we have less to work with by way of transportation, which means our commitment to transportation is just in second place now, not first place. And so it's a little bit slower. So to that point, as much as we got done with the first SPLOST, 16 in transportation, if you listen to what he just said, it's not that much. They're big ticket items, but it's not a lot of projects. But that's okay, because that's what the input of the public said. And so this committee had no problem in supporting that. So, all right, with that being said, Commissioner Alcaraz, are you okay with what you just heard? You got about 2 or 3 years. There's a process we've got to go through, but we got to go ahead and take some action here accordingly. Are you okay with what you heard?
Yeah, I'm fine with what I heard. Of course, you know, I wish the timeline wasn't that long, but it is what it is. So, yes, I'm fine with what I heard.
Okay. Director Rana, any direct action you need from this committee?
No, sir, not right now. When we have estimates, we'll come back with exact dollar amounts and the consultant chosen, and at that point, we'll ask for an action from this committee and then the board.
And I have no problem, you know, obviously, as you report to the committee on overall stuff, make sure you keep Commissioner Alcaraz in the loop, please.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else on this topic?
No, sir.
All right.
Oh, not for me.
All right. Anything else for the committee-wise? Is there any other topic for the committee?
Yes, sir.
All right, keep going.
Next item is a result of an RFQ that we put up. It was a bid to secure signing material. Earlier this year, roughly start of June, end of May, is when GDOT notified us about some funding opportunity to fund signing and striping efforts. Our traffic team, led by Carla, and signing division managed by Bruce Mercer, put together a grant application in less than a week and helped us secure roughly $230,000 from GDOT with a match of $70,000. And this is purely to supplement our signing replacements and additions throughout the county, which I think is a great help, because in our previous or different settings, we've discussed the backlog of signing and marking that we have to work through. This is the great step towards improving our signing outlook throughout the county. So in lieu of that, because of that funding availability, we advertised RFQ 23-23, which was on-demand signing material vendors. And we got, I believe, 4 or 5 responses, but we have chosen 2 vendors which were basically providing the best value on different combinations of material that we need to be awarded the contracts for this on-demand signing materials. The companies are Vulcan, INC, and MD Solutions. And this was price-based, so their unit prices were the lowest. And I'll pause here for any questions, but after on, I'd like to make a motion to recommend those contracts for approval.
All right, to recommend the contracts for approval is going to send it straight to the Board of Commissioners, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Second, how much was Vulcan Inc. and specifically what were they doing? What was the dollar?
Sir, basically this is an on-demand, so we'll as we progress, we'll clarify our needs, because at this stage we have the $300,000 sitting. We're not exactly sure what areas need to be prioritized before the next ones. So what we did in our cost evaluation was we plugged in project quantities based off of the full amount. So let's say if we've got $300,000 to spend, what kind of materials we'll need. So let's say a signing bold, post, or blank white plates, or the marking that goes on top of it. Out of that $300,000, the combination of Vulcan and MD Solutions gives you the most efficient prices. And basically that's where we'll be sitting at. We'll pick one road, one collector, one arterial at a time, and then request quotes from Vulcan and MD, and whoever comes in cheaper, we'll go with them. So at this point, we don't have a dollar specific amount linked to these contracts. These would be merely just the on-demand contracts to keep them on file. And as we need these signs, we'll ask for quotes and request those approvals at that point.
Okay, so that means roughly we won't exceed 300,000. So I get
It won't.
All right. So, but what is the volume? Is it 2,000 signs, 1,000 signs, 10 signs? Just an order of magnitude. What
Right.
What we expect? What type of impact will this be?
Yeah, we are estimating roughly 1,700 signs to be funded through this.
Yeah. How many signs do we have total in the county?
Countywide, we have a little over 50,000 signs.
That many signs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and normally, how much should we normally be maintaining? I know signs been knocked down, crushed, or whatever. What is our normal? What should be the threshold? This was a grant.
Sure.
What would be our normal if we were on a normal maintenance schedule?
Right.
Go ahead.
Our schedule, our budget, basically, our budget allows us to do 1,200 signs every year. With 50,000 signs in inventory, we should be doing at least 5,000 every year. But our budget only allows us to do 1,200.
So we do budget for this, though.
Yes, this is budgeted. So we get a departmental budget to tackle some of the signing issues. This is just a supplement to that.
I got it. So this is on top of what you already got.
Exactly. So we are already planning on doing $1,200 signs through our departmental budget, and then an additional $1,700 through this grant.
Right, so we have 3,000. So okay, it's a one-time supplement. Got it. And how do you pick where signs go? Do you have like a pecking order list like with our roads? Is there some, queue of missing posts here?
Yes.
Go ahead. Explain.
Yes,
that.
sir. So earlier this year, we when I got together with my team, they presented the deteriorating shapes of signs throughout the county, and that's when our team really started looking into what we have, what we need to do, and of course they've done a lot of background data storing from over the years, but this year we sat down, really aligned our resources with the needs, and that's what really showed us that there's a big gap that needs to be filled. And what they did was, first of all, there's MUTCD, which is the federal mandated manual that we have to follow. So let's say you've got a collector road, residential road, it tells you what signs and striping you need at what locations. So any design that we have, first we'll make sure that it's in compliance with MUTCD. And then that gives you a layout of where everything needs to go. And now there are signs that have been sitting in those locations for over 10, 20, 30 years, and they're just in a bad shape. So our guys, they drive around, they take inventory, they take data on the life, the shape, and the location of these signs. And we're building this massive database for our signing crew to maintain. And we're automating this process where people would be able to apply, request signage upgrades online through a GIS-based software. And this is a big effort that our team is diligently working on. When it's ready, we'd love to bring them here and present to this committee, which is an awesome tool and a great initiative by the team and the department. So that is how we'll be dealing with it. We're storing the data, we're tracking the inventory, and when the time comes, we'll be able to track what needs to be replaced, and that's how we'll do this.
Okay. So when I was in Austin, I got a chance to look at this GIS and it take an airplane shot of the entire county. It's really, really, really advanced. It can tell you everything, even underground. Is it something that could be mapped from a picture above, or you actually got to do a hand count? Like, is there some? I guess once you get the data inside, go at it.
So that technology, that specific technology that you're talking about, is a LiDAR. That's basically drones capturing your topo, all the GIS features you need to run in a county, which is a great advancement. Otherwise, people had to manually pick up that information. Right. The problem is for signs, if you're looking from a sky level view, you only see a dot. So for us to understand its condition, we need to be looking at it perpendicular. So there are automated ways. Some different European and Middle Eastern countries have done AI-based equipment on cars that just drive around and it picks up the sign and tells you how bad or how good it is. We don't have those services here, so we will have to rely on the manual upkeep of the data that our team does. And our signing crew, they're out on the roads almost all day, every day throughout the year. So I think that is a very reliable source. And of course, that's doing the best we can with what we've got.
No, understood. And I'm being constructive in my conversation. So to that point, when we say signs, just for the public record, we're talking about stop signs, school crossing signs, hospitals. What is signs?
Anything that dictates a traffic operation is a sign. If it tells you to stop, yield, that is a sign. If it tells you a direction, or let's say it tells you there's a signal ahead, there's an intersection ahead, or even the street names that you see, anything that's got a post, a plate, and markings on it, that is a sign for us.
Yeah, thank you for that. Any questions before we send this forward? Take up the question to pass this on to the Board of Commissioners to accept this assignment. Chairman Miller, Commissioner Alvarez, any thoughts? You guys have a better view than me out there on the street. So what do y'all see? And you see where we are as it relates to replacement. And so I appreciate this grant that we got, but any thoughts on what y'all see directly?
I mean, I agree. There's a lot of signs that you can tell that's been there for a very long time and are quite faded. So, if you get a grant to replace some of those, that'd be great.
And just daily maintenance. Any other thoughts from our fellow Committee members, any thoughts? Right. Well explained. We don't have to go further. We can discuss it more within. Director Rhonda, go ahead and call the question, please.
All right, yes, sir. I make a motion that we recommend contracts with Vulcan INC and MD Solutions for on-demand signing material contracts pursuant to RFQ 23-23 for full board approval.
We have a motion. Can I get a second? I'll second it. No problem. Any further discussion? Now it's Kelly Robinson who seconded that. Any further discussion? All right. I'll go ahead and call the question. All in favor of this action, state your name and your position. Yes or no? Kelly Robinson, yes.
Solomon Rana, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Keith Cowart, yes.
Is the chair still here, y'all?
Mr. Chair is still in attendance. He is mute though, so.
Is he on the screen? Or is he just?
He might have stepped away.
That's fine. So we're in motion right now. So we at least have a majority to carry this. So we got a 4 present members. That is a majority. So this motion passes. So send it on to the Board of Commissioners accordingly.
Will do. Next item is holiday signal timing. It's that time of the year, and every time during the Christmas season or the holiday season, we do a MOU with City of Douglasville, where we have to do special accommodations for at least 18 signals that us and City are responsible for. This would roughly cost us $5,880. And the city is responsible for half of that cost, which comes out to $29.40. And that is the MOU before you. I'll pause for any questions, but later on I'll make a motion to recommend that for board approval.
All right, so where are these holiday season timing alignment? Where's it concentrated at? Around the mall, Highway 5, Chapel Hill? What are we talking about?
Yes, sir. Those are the main location. There are 18 traffic signals, mainly on Highway 5, Douglas Boulevard, and Chapel Hill Road. And I've got the list on the screen. I don't know if people can see, but I'd be happy to read it if that's needed.
Yeah, go ahead and read it just for the record. It's not that many.
Yes. So I'll start off with the first one, go down the list for all of the 18 signals. State Route 5 at Concourse Parkway, State Route 5 at I-20, westbound ramps, State Route 5 at I-20, State Route 5 at Douglas Boulevard, State Route 5 at Arbor Parkway, State Route 5 at Stewart Parkway, Douglas Boulevard at Home Depot, Douglas Boulevard at Stewart Parkway, Douglas Boulevard at Lowe's Circle, Douglas Boulevard at Mall Entrance, Douglas Boulevard at Mall Entrance West, and Douglas Boulevard at Mall Entrance East, Campbellton Street at Hospital Drive, Chapel Hill at I-20, Chapel Hill at Douglas Boulevard, Chapel Hill at Arbor Place, Chapel Hill at Stewart Mill Road, Chapel Hill at Coles Driveway, Chapel Hill at South Elizabeth Drive.
Got it. So all this, so now again, one more time, now we heard the list, you're aligning the lights. What happens again?
So we adjust their signal timing to accommodate the excessive retail movement that we see on these roads, especially around November, December timeframe. So that is a special adjustment apart from our routine maintenance. So that is why we do a standalone contract to help facilitate that.
Okay, so we do the alignment. They're putting money up, meaning the city of Douglasville, we control the lights.
Yes, sir, we do. And they'll just pay us half of that amount, and we'll have our on-call, or in this case, it's Ally With LLC, who does our signal timing for the county. We'll have him maintain the timing as appropriate.
And we've done this every year since I pretty much can remember. So this is needed, and definitely during the holiday season. Traffic's already backed up on both Highway 5 and Chapel Hill under normal, and you know how the retail is. So, and so that means what? We're gonna have green burn that we all gonna keep moving, or how? I mean, what does that mean? Once it turns green on the main streets, we just keep going?
Yes, sir. That is the goal, high level, to give maximum green time to majority of the users of those intersections.
Got it. Commissioner Alcaraz, you all right with that? Did we lose him?
He too might have stepped away, but he is on the call.
That's all right.
Oh, there he
sorry.
is.
Had to get there to unmute, trying to multitask here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds great. I like it. I like those lights. That is that more lights than last year, Director Ron?
I am not exactly sure what we had last year, sir. That was done a little before me, but I can find out and let you know.
No, that's okay. It just sounded like there was more intersections. There were more lights being
Sure.
placed out than what I'm used to seeing. But I could be wrong. But that was just a question, because
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had that if you knew off the top of your head or not. But that's okay. No, I'm fine with that.
You good? All right. Just want to make sure that directly impacts your main area. And I know you and Commissioner Carthen always have that indigestion on behalf of your citizens in that area. Anything we can do to smooth this out during that period of time is always helpful. So, all right. So, Director Rana, call it. Make the motion.
Yes, sir. I make a motion that we recommend the holiday signal timing MOU with City of Douglasville in the amount of $5,880 for full board approval.
I'll second it. All right. So you heard a motion and a second. Real quick question: how will you? Where will our portion of the money come from?
Sir, it's coming from the departmental budget.
You already got it absorbed. Okay. No way.
Yes, sir.
Got it. All right. You had a motion. You had a second. We have a motion. You heard the second. All in favor, say yes. All who are not in favor, say no. But you must state your name and your position for the official record. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Solomon Rana, yes.
Heath Cowart, yes.
All right. Chairman's not here. It's okay. We still have majority, and it's unanimous of the voting members here. The motion passes. All right. Director Ron, anything else?
Yes, sir. Just two more items to go. Next up is a traffic signal permit on Post Road at I-20. This is another intersection improvement project that we started earlier in the year. As you're aware, these transportation projects take a long time. The full board, in fact, identified Post Road needing immediate attention. And in order to fulfill that request, what we did was we split Post Road into two individual phases. So currently, we are working on getting those ramps repaired in coordination with GDOT. That is a standalone effort. The project is adding right turn lanes on the intersection and adding a signal for the eastbound approach. So while the design and the nitty-gritty being finalized with GDOT is going to take a little over a year or two, we wanted to go ahead and get the signal process started so we at least tackle the immediate congestion and safety issues on this intersection. So this would be the first phase of that bigger project that will be coming in a second phase again before you and then the board. But for now, we'll recommend that this committee recommends approval of traffic signal permit request from this board to GDOT.
Okay. Commissioner Alvarez,
Yes.
is this important to you?
It's very important. Very important to me. I'm assuming you're talking the eastbound exit
Yes,
ramp.
sir.
Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There's no light there, and people will get frustrated, and they will forcefully just pull out in front of you because they have to wait so long. So yes, it is. I'm very glad to see this coming.
Gotcha. Do we have accidents there, or is it just congestion backing up? What really goes on over there?
It's
Sir.
congestion, but go ahead. No,
Yeah.
you know you're the traffic guy. You go ahead.
Yes, it's exactly that. It's just congestion that creates unsafe gridlocks. And then when people try to bypass those who are waiting to turn, and they try to, take through approach, and then, it conflicts with the other turning movement, it just creates a very unsafe condition. So the congestion levels definitely warrant a signal, and they warrant right turn lanes. And that's what this would solve.
And you got the traffic, the volume there.
Yes, sir. Volume warrants it. And in fact, we're very close to getting our plans finalized. We are doing part of that in-house just to speed up and keep the cost low.
Okay. I just wanted to level set. It is something that the full board before already acknowledged as being an important project, Post Road. So I have no problem with it. Obviously, a freeway intersection to the highway. So that being said, Director Rana, any action you need to be taken?
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion that this committee recommends the traffic signal permit for Post Road at I-20 for full board approval.
All right, I'll second it. We got a motion second. Any further discussion? If none, again, go around the room for our voting committee members. Those who are in favor say yes. Those who are not in favor say no, but you must state your name and your position for the official record. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Suleiman Rana, yes.
Keith Cowart, yes.
All right. Sounds like the majority of the members are still here. We have a unanimous passage of this motion, 4-0. All right, Director Rana.
All right, so the last item on the agenda is Smart Grant. And this is something that Committee Chair, you and I believe the other board has previously seen and forwarded me about this funding opportunity. And I just wanted to bring it on the agenda just so everybody's aware that we are pursuing this grant. We did that last year too. This is a very competitive grant, which we did not get last year, but we are going in with a little more firepower this year and hoping for better results. And I have a small presentation that we presented last year, but I can quickly touch the highlights if you would like, Commissioner Robinson.
Yeah, please, because it's without that.
Okay.
What are you talking about? Please.
Right, okay. I'll share my screen. Can everybody see the screen?
Yep, sounds good. Yep.
Okay, great. So SMART grant is, it stands for Strengthening Mobility and Revolutionizing Transportation. This is a grant program, first of its kind, started last year. And basically it's, oops, my apologies, getting this slide deck to work right. Basically allocates $100 million from federal highway for local jurisdictions, state DOTs, and cities, and any jurisdiction or local government that wants to apply for it. The main purpose of this grant is basically to enhance a local government to adopt latest technology or technological advancements to upgrade their existing transportation infrastructure. There will be two stages for this grant. Stage 1 is planning and feasibility. Stage 2 is implementation and construction. The way this grant is structured, you can't apply for stage 2 if you don't already have stage 1 funding. So even though we're pretty much well aware of our needs, we still have to go through a planning and feasibility study before we can ask for construction funds. And that's exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be going through stage 1. We're asking money for planning at this level. Last year, this grant was only 30 to 50 awards for the whole country. That means not even one for each state. So last year they had, I believe, a little over 50 awards within 33 states. So not every state got a grant, but the ranges were different depending on what was presented. The deadline we have on the screen is from last year, but it's basically the same. We have to apply by October 10th. They pulled it in by a month. Last year was in November. But no big change there. Us being a local political subdivision of a state, as the county government, we can apply for it. The focus technology areas that we want to pursue are connected vehicles, system integration, and smart technology traffic signals. These are the prerequisitions you had to pick from a list of their initiatives to be to qualify for this grant. The three that we picked basically help facilitate two improvements. Number one is upgrading our traffic signal operations. Number two, it would help us redevelop our traffic control center. Now, connected vehicles is really the phenomenon of today's age. It's enabling every infrastructure to talk to each other. And what that means is it's referred to as V2X communications. X means it could be anything. Vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to pedestrian, vehicle to signals, any communication that can help facilitate traffic movement. That's what connected vehicles mean. As you can see on the slide, it shows you the cars are connected to the roadside unit, and the cars are connected to pedestrian. So it's basically a fully connected environment for all users on public right-of-way. Now, on traffic signal too, there's been a lot of improvements. These improvements are enabled through V2X communications, and the specific equipment that gets embedded in traffic signals, it's called DSRC, Dedicated Short Range Communication Devices. What that does is the signal can communicate to the users around it either via their car or their phone. And what that does is on the screen, you can see if there's a car approaching towards this traffic signal, and there's a gridlock, there's an accident on the signal can communicate to the incoming traffic that, hey, you need to take the right two lanes, you need to avoid or do whatever to basically optimize the traffic operations. Now, the proposed improvements that we want to do is, number one, enable V2X capabilities. Basically, our goal is to embed those equipments within the traffic signals, and the rest, which is the cars, the mobile part, the user part, that would grow organically. So as soon as people get those cars, the equipment that can communicate to those signals, our infrastructure would be ready for that advancement. Next, we want to have connectivity with other agencies and their technologies. So as our signals, our equipments are updated, we should be able to do remote changes to ours. We should be able to dive into or connect to other partner agencies and basically have that connected environment across our traffic signals. We'll monitor traffic data. So like we talked about holiday timing, we talk about rush hour, we talk about accidents. This monitoring will help us remotely make changes and basically ensure smooth flow of traffic. And that is basically adjusting for varying traffic conditions. And lastly, we want to have safe and efficient EMS deployment and signal preemption, which means is we'll prioritize EMS and first responders movement when they are an emergency cause throughout our traffic signals, and our signals would be smart enough to detect that movement through preemption. So if they see a fire truck coming, they'll automatically give them green time that they need to access that intersection. And the third part of this grant would be system integration. System integration really means to bring everything together, all the technologies, all the infrastructure that you have. And that really refers to one thing, which is control tower, right? You need to be sitting in a place that can control everything, and just being remotely, you can still have control over everything that's out there deployed on the ground. Other counties, and just like any city or a county, this is done through TCC, which is a traffic control center. On the screen, you can see our existing traffic control center, which is not fancy at all, and we're hoping that this grant will help us upgrade. As you can see, we've got computers and screens from over 10 years ago, and in today's age, technology is changing every day, and we've come to a point where our existing infrastructure just cannot keep up with the latest softwares or technologies that are out there. So this would help us integrate all of the systems. Few of the things that we want to do specifically for our traffic control center is, number one, extend a fiber optic connection to our traffic control center, which we don't have. Then we want to update our monitoring software from MaxView to Kinetics, and that is just a controlling software that GDOT kind of has. They previously had MaxView, so we had MaxView, but they've moved to Kinetics, so we'd like to move to Kinetics too. Then we want to enhance the monitoring capabilities. We want to do space planning, because on the screen, what you see is Cobb County's traffic control center. And now you compare that space to ours in the last slide, you can see we're sitting on less than 1/10 of the space that you saw in Cobb County. And of course, they've got bigger needs, but I still personally believe that there's room for us to do better for our traffic control center. So with these traffic TCC improvements and right space planning, the next two big things that trigger interdepartmental coordination would be, we'll have coordinated EMS deployment. We can track the routes of any first responders coming from point A to point B, and basically ensure smooth flow for them for the entire trip. And next is transit management. We can monitor these transit vehicles. We can optimize their operations just by our monitoring, and we'd be happy to share a seat on this traffic control center if we've got enough space, which we currently don't. Our budget in this case would be roughly $600,000. That's what we had last year. We're keeping it the same, and there's no local match required for this grant. With that, I'll pause here for any questions you may have.
So let me get this right. So I was thinking a much bigger number. So I heard signals, I heard traffic, I heard facility upgrade, equipment, I heard vehicle alignment. And we can do all that for $600,000. Now, I guess my question is, we talked about ITC right when I came on board back in 2010. So it's almost 13, 14 years later. And so how do we do it today? I mean, I thought we actually could monitor the highway. I mean, was it just an illusion? Because I really thought we were much further along than what you just described.
Yes. So yes, sir. And I'll if I could clarify the first part first.
Just.
So the 600 would definitely not get us all of the things that I've mentioned. It would take a lot more. But to my very first point that I made, this grant is structured in two stages. Stage one is planning, and stage two is demonstration, which is the actual construction. For us to receive construction funds, we have to plan per their guidelines. So this $600,000 is just to plan, and then whatever the cost estimate we come up with, we'll apply for stage two and actually get the funds, which would be a much higher number.
I thought
And
so. Okay.
yes, And then the next part of your question was about monitoring and adjusting these traffic signals. We do have that opportunity, or we do have that ability, but we're very limited. It's not across the board. We have grown in number of traffic signals. There's much more technology out there than it was before. So there's a lot of room for improvement. And with these funds, we can basically do, so let's say if we can remotely control 20 signals in today's time, we'd want to control all 90 that we've got. So I think if we were given the funds that this grant has the opportunity to, we're willing to explode on the ITS side and fully equip our traffic signals, our traffic control centers to the latest technology from A to Z.
Got it. Actually, yeah, but you set my expectations. I'm like 600,000. We should have been did this, but duly noted. That's just for planning. Sounds about right. Got it. All right. Anybody else want to weigh in on this topic? Any of our members? We don't have to belabor this. This is just to apply. So this has to go to the full board of commissioners.
We have our grants manager Jill on with us.
Jill.
Yes. So since there's no local match required. This was approved last year too for applying. I think with the new processes, we may be able to apply for this grant. And once we get the notification that we've gotten it, that's when we'll come to the board for acceptance or rejection.
All right, so that, at least from this committee now, we can give administrative concurrence without objection. But Jill, talk to us about this. What do you know about this initiative, and how far along are we?
Yes, sir. As far as it going to the full board, because there's no local match and we don't have to put any county funds, I should be able to sign off on it with no problem. As far as the technicality of grants, I have to defer to Suleiman. He has taken this and run with it. But I'm comfortable with his plan. We have some backup plans in case one of the ARPA expansions was transportation. So if this grant's not acquired, I want to talk to him about potentially adding as a recommendation for ARPA, since they have expanded it to include transportation projects, and anything that's a DOT grant project, we can basically incorporate into ARPA. So more to come on that, but I think we're in good shape, and I don't have any issues with DOT pursuing any grant opportunities.
Great. With that being said, and without belaboring this, again, since this is already in play, when you said you have the authority in your department, what I'd like to do is to ensure that you've got cover when you're applying for things. That at least for the record, it came before this committee, and we did acknowledge it. So while we don't have to necessarily vote for it, I would like to go around the room and find out if there's any objections from concurrence for you to move forward. So again, I concur. Go around the room, guys. If you concur to go ahead and give administrative concurrence without a formal board before the board of commissioners, say so now. State your name and you concur or don't concur. Suleiman
Rana, concur.
Keith Cowart, I concur.
Ron.
Ron.
Eric, is Ron with us?
Ron left. He's in a chat.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, we've got 3 members out of the 5 that were present down to 4, so we still have a majority. So through administrative concurrence, Jill, you have your cover that you need. We just want to make it a record, okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Anything else, Director Ron?
No, sir, that concludes our agenda.
I think we're gonna leave it at that. So with that being said, thank you so much, guys. Very effective meeting, very efficient as always. I appreciate you guys preparedness and stuff. So let's keep it going like this. With nothing else you need to come before this Transportation Committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, let the September 19, 2023